In 193 AD, the most powerful empire on Earth went up for auction. Not the throne, the whole thing, sold off the top of a wall by a gang of bodyguards, out loud, to the highest bidder, like a used car. Winning bid, 10-year salary, per soldier. The man who paid it ruled the known world for 66 days, before they killed him too. His last words were, "But what did I even do? Nothing." That was the problem. And that's not the strange part of Roman history. That's a slow week. This is an empire founded by a baby raised by a wolf, populated on purpose by criminals, run at its peak by a teenager, and destroyed, remember this one, by a refugee crisis. It completely fumbled. 1,200 years. One mud hut to the empire that paved your roads and named your months, and it somehow gets dumber the entire way down. This is the complete history of Rome.
Rome didn't start in Rome, it started in Alba Longa, a city about 25 kilometers away, around 771 BC. The king there is named Numitor. His younger brother Amulius wants the throne, so he takes it, and murders every one of Numitor's sons, leaving no heir to take it back. The one survivor is Numitor's daughter, Silvia, and to make sure she can't have children either, Amulius forces her to become a priestess, sworn to lifelong virginity. Problem solved. And then Silvia gets pregnant anyway. Her explanation: the god of war, Mars, did it. Whether or not anyone believed her, Amulius now has a real problem. Twin baby boys. 2 rightful heirs. So he does the reasonable thing and orders them drowned in the river. The basket floats. It washes ashore, and a female wolf comes down out of the trees and starts nursing the babies. Okay, hold on. A virgin birth, a king killing infants, and now a wolf adopting twins? This is just the Bible. It's the myth. It probably didn't happen, but it's the story Rome told about itself, and it matters for the real history coming up. So sit down. The wolf races them. A woodpecker helps feed them, which is somehow the most realistic part of the whole story. Then a shepherd named Faustulus takes them in, and the boys grow up strong, with no idea who they really are, until they brawl with some thugs who happen to work for Amulius, and the truth spills out. They're the lost princess. So they march back, overthrow Amulius, and put Grandpa Numitor back on his throne. But they've caught the taste for power now, so they leave to build a city of their own by the Tiber. 7 hills, perfect spot. And then they can't agree on which hill. So they let the gods decide. The contest: whoever sees more birds wins. Remus sees 6. Romulus claims he saw 12. Remus calls him a liar. Romulus starts building anyway, and Remus, to mock him, hops over the half-finished wall and says, "Your city's so safe. What are you gonna do, kill me?" He did. Romulus killed his own twin on day 1, named the city after himself, and that, 753 BC, is the founding of Rome. 1 city, 1 king, 1 small problem. The problem is that Rome, on day 1, is basically a refugee camp with ambitions. So to fill it, Romulus declares it an open city. Anyone running from anything is welcome. Overnight, it fills with runaway slaves, debtors, exiles, and criminals. A society. But there's a flaw in the plan. It's almost entirely men. No women, no next generation. So Rome throws a festival and invites the neighboring Sabines, bring the whole family, and then, mid-party, abducts all the Sabine women. The Sabine men come back for war. And just before the slaughter starts, the women themselves walk out between the 2 armies and say, "Stop. We are not going to watch our new husbands kill our fathers. Merge, or nothing." So they do. 2 peoples, 1 city, and some genuinely tense family dinners. From here, Rome runs through 7 kings, and we have 1,000 years to cover, so we're speed-running this. King 1, Romulus, builds the Senate, then vanishes in a storm. Rome claims he ascended and became a god. He probably just tripped and died. King 2 invents the state religion and builds a temple whose doors only opened during war. Under him, they basically stayed shut. He dies peacefully of old age, the last king who manages that. King 3 decides religion is for cowards, destroys the old family city of Alba Longa, and then dies when he botches a sacred ritual and gets struck by lightning. The gods, it turns out, keep score. King 4 builds Rome's first bridge, first prison, and first port. Quietly competent. King 5 builds the Circus Maximus and the enormous sewer that parts of Rome still run on today. For his trouble, he's murdered by the previous king's sons. King 6 builds the city walls and invents the census. He was popular, so obviously, he's murdered by his own daughter, who then drives her chariot directly over his corpse in the street. King 7 is such a tyrant that the people physically throw him out of the city. And that's the last straw. No more kings, ever. In 509 BC, Rome becomes a republic. Their cure for tyranny is this. Instead of one king, two leaders who share power can overrule each other and get swapped out every single year. Definitely, absolutely not kings. It holds together for a while, and then the wars start. Around 390 BC, an army of Gauls marches into Rome, loots it, burns most of it down, and only leaves after Rome pays them off in gold. This is Rome's villain origin story. Never again, they decide, and turn that one humiliation into roughly 7 centuries of conquest. They take the Latins, the hill tribes, the Greek colonies. If you lived anywhere near Rome, you got exactly one offer: join or be flattened. Then they reach their real rival, Carthage, a naval superpower across the sea, with deep money, a beautiful capital, and war elephants. Rome cannot psychologically tolerate this, so they fight 3 wars. War 1. Rome wants Sicily but has no navy, so they fish a wrecked Carthaginian ship out of the water, copy it, build a fleet from the stolen blueprint, and win anyway. 1-0. War 2. Carthage sends Hannibal. He marches an army and 37 war elephants over the Alps, which is insane to even attempt, and hands Rome the worst defeats in its history. Rome wins anyway, barely. 2-0. War 3 is shorter. There was a senator who ended every speech on any subject with the same line: also, Carthage must be destroyed. Eventually, Rome agreed. They erased the city and enslaved the survivors. 3-0. Now Rome is addicted. It takes Spain, North Africa, Greece, Turkey, and Gaul. And the man who finishes the job in Gaul is Julius Caesar. Caesar conquers all of France, dips into Germany, and invades Britain basically to see what's over there. He comes back so powerful that the Senate panics and orders him to disband his army and return home alone. He refuses. He marches on Rome instead, supposedly muttering, "The die is cast," which is a far cooler way to say, "I am now committing treason." The Senate flees. After 4 years of civil war, beating his rival Pompey across 3 continents, picking up a relationship with Cleopatra along the way, Caesar runs Rome. Half the Senate loves him, the other half wants him dead. So, was he actually a villain? Kind of, but not really. Caesar fixed the calendar, so the year finally lined up with the sun, which is where our 365 days come from, and July is named after him. He cut taxes, cancelled debts, fed the poor, gave land to veterans. People adored him. But he also collected every office at once: dictator, consul, head priest, and a city that had spent 500 years terrified of kings looked at that pile of titles and saw exactly one thing: a king. So they saved the Republic by stabbing him to death in a Senate meeting in 44 BC, which might be the single dumbest political move in history because everyone liked Caesar, except the senators. His killers walk out announcing they've saved Rome. The public, having just lost the man who cut their taxes and handed out free grain, disagrees. Loudly. 2 men step into the gap. Mark Antony, Caesar's right hand, who wants the power for himself, and Octavian, Caesar's adopted 18-year-old grandnephew, who looks completely harmless and is the opposite of that. They rule together briefly, each waiting the other out. Antony makes it easy. He runs off to Egypt and Cleopatra. Octavian spins that into Antony is betraying Rome, wins the war, and Antony and Cleopatra both take their own lives. 1 man left standing. In 27 BC, that teenager, now grown, takes the name Augustus, and the Roman Empire is born, before Christ is even born. Here's why Rome lasted. When empires like the Mongols burned out fast, it learned to stop expanding and start holding. And the man who pulled that off is Augustus, who wasn't trying to be impressive. He was trying to be permanent. He understood exactly why the Republic died. Not bad loss. The army. For a century, soldiers fought for whichever general paid them, not for Rome. So every ambitious general was a civil war waiting to happen. So Augustus takes the army away from the generals. He makes it professional and permanent. Soldiers now serve 20 years, get paid by the state, and retire on land granted by the state, not by some general promising rewards if his rebellion works out. He separates the rich provinces from the ones with big armies, so no governor ever controls both. Loyalty flows up to the emperor instead of sideways to a warlord. It costs a fortune, 150,000 professional soldiers stationed on the borders, but it drains the exact fuel that burned the Republic down. And he stops conquering. Spain gets locked down, the Alps taken, the Danube fortified. In the east, he dodges a war with Persia entirely and recovers some lost army standards through pure diplomacy. Then sells it to the public as a glorious victory, because the man understood PR 5 centuries before it had a name. But the borders are never quiet, and in 9 AD, it goes catastrophically wrong. 3 legions march into Germania under a general named Varus. They never come out. Around 20,000 professional soldiers, gone in a matter of days. And the man who did it understood Rome better than most Romans, because he used to be one. His name is Arminius. He grew up around the legions, served in them, earned Roman trust, and learned exactly how they move and think. He also knew their single blind spot. Romans assume everyone secretly wants to become Roman. But in Germania, Roman rule didn't feel like order. It felt like erasure. Roman courts replacing local custom. Roman taxes, Roman law, obedience expected. And Arminius understood that once that process finished, no one would ever be able to fight it. So he picks his moment. He doesn't rebel openly. That fails instantly. He stays loyal on the surface, earns Varus's complete trust, and convinces him that marching the legions through the forest is just routine cleanup. So the legions move like they're doing paperwork, strung out for kilometers, hauling wagons through terrain they don't understand, in the rain. Then the forest opens up. It's not a battle, it's a slaughter. The tribesmen hit the column, vanish, and hit it again, harder. The legions are too stretched to form up. Orders can't travel down the line. Roman discipline is built to fight one army on open ground, not to be eaten alive, piece by piece, in a swamp. Varus assumes it's just bandits, and keeps pushing forward, right up until there's no army left to save. Then he kills himself rather than go home as the man who lost 3 legions without ever fighting a real battle. When the news reaches Augustus, he reportedly spends months wrecked, beating his head against the wall and shouting, "Varus, give me back my legions." He never gets them back. Those 3, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, are never rebuilt. And Augustus quietly gives up on Germania forever. The Rhine becomes the border. Rome turns from conquest to defense, and that one decision shapes its frontiers for centuries. So what was Rome actually like at its peak? Inside the empire, life was unusually good for the ancient world. Paved roads, aqueducts, public baths, courts, written law, free grain. Not rich. Most people lived modestly, and slavery was everywhere, but stable. A system that could absorb a disaster and keep going. Outside the empire, among the people Rome lazily called barbarians, life was the reverse. Rural, decentralized, freer, but with no safety net at all. And that gap is the whole story. Because Rome didn't just beat these people, it pulled them in. Roman pay, Roman cities, Roman citizenship. Most of them never wanted to destroy Rome. They wanted in. Hold on to that. Augustus dies in 14 AD, leaving behind the rarest thing in Roman history, a stable state. Now watch everyone else ruin it. His successor is Tiberius, capable, deeply paranoid, and so antisocial that he abandons Rome entirely and runs the empire from an island, which leaves a vacuum, and the Praetorian Guard fills it. These were the emperor's elite bodyguards, heavily armed, stationed in Rome, loyal to the emperor personally. With the emperor gone, their commander now controls who reaches him and what he hears. Power stops flowing through the government and starts flowing through whoever guards the throne. Meanwhile, in a far-off province, a local preacher named Jesus is arrested, handed to the Roman governor, and executed for causing unrest. To Rome, it's routine, a minor provincial matter, barely worth writing down. They have no idea what they've just done. Tiberius dies, and the guard picks the next emperor, Caligula. He gets dangerously unstable, so the guard kills him and installs his uncle, Claudius. And that's the new rule of Rome. Said out loud, the emperor isn't chosen by law, or tradition, or the people. He's chosen by whichever soldiers happen to be standing closest. Claudius turns out fine, even conquers Britain, but the precedent is locked in. Then comes Nero, vain, reckless, far more interested in his own image than his empire. Rebellions, financial collapse, half of Rome on fire. He loses the army, then loses the guard, and when arrest becomes certain, he takes his own life. With him, in 68 AD, the line of Caesar ends. and the throne becomes a hot potato that's also on fire. For the next stretch, good emperors get killed, bad ones get killed, and emperors the guard simply doesn't like get killed. So instead of a dozen names you'll forget instantly, here are the only 3 moments that actually matter. 117 AD. Emperor Trajan stretches the empire to its largest size ever. Romania, Jordan, and Armenia, all Roman. Screenshot it. It never gets this big again. 193 AD. The Praetorian Guard gets so brazen they auction the empire off the top of a wall, like a used car. Winning bid, 10 years salary, per soldier. The buyer ruled for 66 days before they killed him too. Accused the entire time. His last words, "But what did I even do? Nothing, man. That was the problem." And then the entire 3rd century just breaks. Plague gutting the cities. The economy inflating into dust. Germanic tribes hammering the west. Persians carving up the east. And emperors swapping so fast, nobody bothered learning the new one's name. Picture 2020. Except every month. For 100 years. Eventually, one emperor admits the obvious. The empire is too big to run from a single chair. So he splits it. 4 rulers, 2 senior, 2 junior, each posted near a different border. And the city of Rome, no longer where anything happens, just quietly stops being the capital. Then this emperor does something no Roman ruler ever does. He retires, voluntarily, to grow vegetables. And when they later beg him to come back and take power again, he reportedly says that if they could see the cabbages he'd grown with his own hands, they would never ask. A legend. The moment he's gone, the 4-way split becomes a 4-way war, and the winner, Constantine, reunites the empire. But he doesn't go back to old fading Rome. He builds a brand new capital in the east, Constantinople. Richer, far easier to defend, sitting on the perfect choke point between 2 continents, and Christian from the ground up. The religion Rome spent centuries persecuting is suddenly the official one. On paper, the empire is whole. In reality, the wealth and the brainpower follow the emperor east, and Latin-speaking Rome is left behind as a ghost town. By now, the east has basically become a different empire, the one historians call Byzantine. Some people insist it's just the Eastern Roman Empire. That's lame, and it's a hill I will die on. Sue me in the comments. The split goes final in 395 AD, when an emperor dies and divides everything between his 2 sons, who immediately stop cooperating. Rome is no longer Rome. Fair warning, if you're watching this with the uncle who has opinions at dinner, he is about to quote the next 30 seconds forever. Because the thing that finally killed the Western Roman Empire was, more or less, a refugee crisis it couldn't manage. It's a real historical debate, so let's actually walk through it. A terrifying people called the Huns explode out of the steppe and send everyone in their path running. The Goths run straight for the Roman border, tens of thousands of them, and ask for asylum. Rome lets them in. Manageable, on paper. But corrupt Roman officials starve and exploit them so badly that the Goths revolt. And in 378 AD, at Adrianople, they destroy an entire Roman army and kill the emperor on the battlefield. That's the lesson Rome never wanted to learn. Bring in a whole nation you can't actually control or integrate, and you haven't gained citizens. You've imported your next civil war. So the Western Empire starts doing the only thing it can, buying off armed groups it can't beat. Here's some land, please stop burning things. It buys a little time, never enough. And once the border breaks, the rest follow. The Vandals tear across the west and seize North Africa, which is a death blow, because that's where the West's grain and money came from. Lose the grain, lose the army. Lose the army, lose everything. In 410, the Goths sack Rome itself. In 455, the Vandals sack it again. And in 476, the last Western emperor, a boy named, with perfect irony, Romulus Augustus, after both the founder of Rome and its first emperor, is politely told by his Germanic commander, Odoacer, to stop being emperor. And that's it. No last stand. No final battle on the walls. Just 1,200 years of momentum, running out. One catch, Byzantine, is a name modern historians invented. Ask anyone alive back then whether Rome had fallen, and they'd point east and say, no, it's right there. Because the eastern half, with the wealth and the emperor and Constantinople, was still standing. And it kept standing for 1,000 more years, slowly bleeding ground to Persians, Arabs, Crusaders, and finally the Ottomans, until nothing was left but the city itself. In 1453, Constantinople fell, and with it, the very last state on Earth that still called itself Roman was gone. Yes, I just skipped 1,000 years in one paragraph. I'll give it its own video, so subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss it. From one mud hut on a hill, to the empire that shaped the world, to a slow fade-out 12 centuries later. That was the history of Rome. I'll see you in the next one.